Attention, attention, all personnel. Incoming podcast. This is MASH Matters.
All right, welcome to MASH Matters. This is the podcast celebrating the greatest television series of all time, MASH. And today I am joined not by one, but by two of the stars of MASH. One is, that guy who slung all the hash in the mess tent. That would be our very own Igor Straminsky. Hello, Jeff Maxwell.
Hello, Ryan Patrick from Igor Straminsky, who slung that hash as far as he could sling it, as often as he could sling it.
Yes.
As many times as they would pay him to sling it. I would sling it. And boy, we have a great episode today, don't we?
Yes, we do, because we are proud to welcome a man who has over 300 film and television credits.
I don't think that's legal, actually, in show business. I think that something's wrong there. That's too many credits for anybody.
We have a gentleman who made 4 appearances on MASH, playing 3 different roles. Please welcome to MASH Matters, Clyde Kusatsu. Hello, sir.
Hi, how are you?
Doing good. Thank you for taking some time out of your day to chat with us.
Well, I'm very honored to be introduced and invited by the two of you to take part in this. You know, I was at it's called, what is it? The Hollywood show in
Yes.
Burbank, where you have autographs for the fans and everything.
Yeah.
Somebody gave me your card, and then I lost the card. So then it wasn't until Jeff reached out, and I said, "Oh, okay. You know, some things work out." But I'm very happy to join you and just, as we say in Hawaii, talk story. You know.
Well, it's amazing how many people lose those cards. I don't know why, but we're so happy to have you. It is so wonderful to talk to somebody who has experienced MASH, like I have and like other people have. But you've experienced it, and right from pretty much the get-go, really. I mean, you were there in the second season of MASH.
Yeah. The 70s are really a productive time in Hollywood and everything like that. And I was very grateful to be given the opportunity to utilize the skill set I had from being a drama major at Northwestern Theater Department from 66 to 70 and coming out to Hollywood or Los Angeles in 1971. And those were the days when everything was sort of kind of set and stereotypic, and basically you could say what an Asian, back in that day, it was like you were an Oriental American rather than an Asian American. Mm-hmm. And the roles available were kind of limited. You could probably count it on one hand if it dealt with a Chinese restaurant or a laundromat or some kind of historical kind of a thing. It wasn't there. And it was MASH that allowed that storyline to develop, because it dealt with Korean War and everything, and working off of the initial movie and everything, which was which was a big hit back in the 60s, and kind of set the tone of it. So I remember I had done a guest star on Baba Black Sheep back in 1976, and it was called Prisoners of War. And it was directed by Jackie Cooper. It was the first season of Black Sheep. And it had a great role. It dealt with a guy named Araki, who was shot down over the airbase by one of the Black Sheep. And I was captured. And it turned out I was raised in Los Angeles, but went back to Japan and became a pilot. So I had a combination of both roles. And what was great was it allowed me to just speak straight English and not have to affect the accent of the day at that time, which was very, it was racist. The whole
stereotypical, yeah.
Sure.
Yeah.
Stereotypical Rots of Ruck and Clyde, Rice, you plick, that kind of a thing.
Yeah, ouch.
But anyway, Jackie Cooper was the director on that and really hit it off. And it was one of those things where the audience and everybody on the show loved the character, worked with all the different the regulars, but I had to escape, and Bob shot me down, and all of a sudden they went, "We killed him. We killed Rocky. We can't bring him back." And when they did have a character that was like a taunting Japanese pilot, it was really kind of stereotypic. Black sheep kind of thing.
Oh, gosh.
That kind of a thing. But at any rate, it was a kind of a breakthrough. So it was fun that MASH was a hit, and it came in that second season, And when I auditioned, it was like Larry Gelbart was there, Gene Reynolds, exec producer.
Was Burt Metcalf there as well?
Burt was like an associate producer. He was like tagging along part, the other guy, just this tall stick of water or whatever.
Yes, he was.
He was a bit of a tight person,
Yeah.
so to speak.
I understand.
Yeah. At any rate, so I was casting this episode called Officers Only, and I was Kwang Duk, the bartender.
May I serve you, sir?
You betcha. I've been dying for a banana daiquiri.
Is that a drink, sir?
Oh, yeah. You just take some bananas and some rum and some cream and some crushed ice, and you just put it in a blender.
We've got no bananas, no rum, and no blender, sir. And only powdered cream.
Okay, give me a beer.
Yes, sir.
And what was great was that was another bashing of the stereotype type of thing. So it was a great foil to Frank Burns and, we're cute people, that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
That's a cute drink. Yeah, we're cute people. That type of thing. And then the next episode was Henry in Love. So it was kind of great, So it was one of those things where I felt lucky. And I said, well, it's going to be the Officers Club. But I never got called back to it until I saw an episode of MASH and somebody said, hey, Kwang, how are you? And it was a different guy.
Yeah.
And I went, oh, okay. You can't get too offended, really, because who knew if you were available at the time or whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, Jackie directed Officers Only. And then who directed? Ed Jurist directed Henry in Love. And then a few seasons later, there was an episode called Goodbye, Cruel World.
Yes.
Where I was a wounded sergeant, Asian American sergeant.
Sergeant Michael Yee.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And Sydney had to come talk to me because it brought up a great subject, is that what an Asian face is in an Asian war. He was an Asian American, and the complexities of having to deal with that,
Yeah, the guilt that he was feeling. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, because I can remember back in the 60s at school when Vietnam was really big going on there. It was sort of like, well, I'm in high school by the time, troops are headed into Vietnam. This is 1966. But, wars have never lasted more than 4 years for the United States. And by the time I graduate from college, we don't have to worry about it. Hello, 1970 pulls around.
Yeah.
It's like you get your pre-induction physical notice or whatever, And then that was when the lottery was introduced in 69, I believe. And nobody went to class. Nobody went to rehearsals or anything. Everybody's standing by the radio and listening to the number and everything.
I remember that well.
Yeah. And I missed number one by one day. It was September 14th, I believe, was the first number one. And I was the 13th of September. So I came in at 175. So, but at any rate, it was dealing with that. And because people were saying, what are you concerned with? Well, I'm concerned with if I get shot or something like that. I'm looking at an American and going, no, you're not. Yes, I am. And you start listing all the expletives you can think of that are basically American, right? F-U, M-F, blah, 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 down the line type of thing. And maintain a very American kind of dialect so that they're going, well, there's no way type of thing. So, but at any rate, it did speak to that problem, and it was really a very enlightening subject for the American audience to deal with,
Yeah.
And then later on down the line, The Joker is Wild, where I was BJ's buddy who came in to substitute for him. And, well, in the midst of all the joking going around, and I think Charles Dubbin was the director on that one.
Yeah, he was. Yes.
Charles Dubbin was Goodbye, Cruel World.
That was the only one we were in that together, that show.
We were?
We were. Yes. I was in that. Yes.
You were in The Joker's Wild.
Joker's Wild. Wild. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Burt Metcalf directed that one.
Yeah. A big, tall drink of water.
Yeah, big, tall drink of water. I mean,
stiff guy.
I think, what was it? It was like Henry in Love or Officers Only. My alarm clock didn't come off. And I got the phone call. Where are you?
Oh.
And I had to rush. And then when I got to the studio, it was like Bert became Ichabod Crane going, "You're late. Do you understand what it is?" And he gave me this lecture and says, "You'll never work," that kind of a thing. "Do you want to work in this town?"
Wow.
Oh my goodness. Yeah.
He was a bit of a,
Yeah.
he could press grapes really well.
He
so to
could.
speak.
He could. Yes, he could.
What was your relationship with Jackie Cooper? Because I know that some of the actors on MASH clashed with Jackie.
Oh, did it?
Yeah. So did you have a good working relationship with him?
Yeah, I did. I mean, it goes back to when we did Baba Black Sheep, that first season of it. And Jackie had 4 cameras. He also had an editing machine, and he stayed out at Indian Dunes in one of the motels. And he went through a moviola and would look through the stuff. And he just said, "Look, I got 4 cameras. I'm going to do all these shots and everything, and they don't have to do any second unit shots because I'll have it covered." And he was right. For the series, he did planes flying, taking off, landing, the whole thing, and they just cut to it between scenes. And he was like a child star. Our gang, he played one of the original Our Gang guys.
Mm-hmm.
Then he grew up, and then that awkward time in teen years, and he was in the Navy. And then when he came back, he was sort of like aged out, and like he became a has-been, and he had to reinvent himself. And at one point, he became an executive at Columbia TV, of all things.
Really?
Then I think he got into directing. And so he had a point of view of what was funny, but you had to respect him. I respected him because of his background and his experience and everything like that.
Yeah.
And he just knew.
Mm-hmm.
Gene grew up in that kind of environment too, but Gene was a different kind of personality.
Mm-hmm.
Gene was more low-key and understood what the dynamics were. Whereas I think Jackie had to really make his way. In Hollywood that time, you really had to do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You couldn't be a nice guy.
Yeah, I think some of the objections to Jackie, from what we've heard over the years and talking to everybody, was that he was very not gruff, but he wanted it done when he wanted it done, and let's move on. Cut, go, let's get out of here. Next.
Yeah.
And that's what he wanted to do. And a lot of the actors went, I don't know about that. And they kind of objected to that rhythm, so that's why they separated eventually.
I remember I was known for, this is when I was in summer stock in Colorado. We were the only show in town. So at night, this other guy, he and I were fans of movies and stuff, and especially like John Wayne. And we used to, "Well, I'll tell you, partner, saddle it up and move him on out, right, Tyree?" And we would do these impressions. And so he knew I could do that impression. And but I was such a nutnik at that time. And he was going on with one of the scenes. He says, "Okay, do it." And I'm going, "What?" And he lost the moment. And he wouldn't let me do it again.
Oh.
But I realized he wanted to get it for the Christmas reel or whatever.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, so, but then for the longest time, I said, "Boy, did I blow that." But I think what he respected just hitting your mark and bringing it.
Yeah.
You had to bring it, the performance or whatever. And I think that's what he expected, perhaps.
Mm-hmm.
And it was not the kind of a thing, so like a Jeremy Strong from Succession, right? So what's my motivation?
Yeah, right. Yeah, he wasn't. You didn't care about your motivation.
No, because
He didn't care.
basically the motivation is what's funny, right? And I say to people will say, "Where'd you get your comic timing? Where'd you learn that? What class did you take?" And I said, Looney Tunes.
Right?
As a kid growing up in Hawaii, back in the 50s and 60s, at one time there was only one TV station, KGMB, and that was a CBS station. And then they would open up the ABC affiliate and then the NBC affiliate. And to fill the airtime, they just bought the Columbia Film Library, Warner Brothers Film Library, MGM, Universal, and the shorts, the comedies, Our Gang and all that stuff, and the cartoons. And if you watch the old cartoons, the sensibilities were very adult.
Oh, yes.
Mm-hmm. Oh,
Very
Very
so.
adult.
Yeah.
And I learned the classic take from like Bugs or Daffy Duck.
Isn't that great? Oh, that's your training, early training.
Training, right. And then breaking the fourth wall,
Mm-hmm.
with just the look.
Well, how old were you when you were doing that? What was your age? Were you? Did you always kind of want to do this, or did you
Yeah,
always
yeah. It
want
was
to be
like
in show?
one of those fantasy dreams as a kid. It's like, I want to be there. I want to be in that little box and everything.
Was anybody in your family in show business or had any of that kind of acting situation going on?
No, no, not at all. I had a good year, right? I got involved with performing. I played clarinet, and then I was also in the choir. And there was a woman who was our choir teacher, and who basically was kind of like a mentor. And when I was 14, in ninth grade, she said to me, "Look, someone dropped out in the chorus. We're doing Guys and Dolls. Would you like to be part of the chorus?" I said, "Sure," because at that time I felt inhibited and scared to audition because I didn't know what it was like.
Hmm.
And then when I got in there, it's almost like, what a world it was, right? I went to an all boys Episcopal prep school. And so the girls came from the other school, like Punahou or St. Andrew's Priory, which is the Episcopal version of the all boys school I was at. And so all of a sudden you're with girls.
Yeah.
Wow.
A whole new
there was a
world.
Wow, look
yeah,
at that.
it was a whole different level.
Uh-huh.
And everything seemed a little bit more sophisticated.
Mhm.
It wasn't parochial at all. And so the dream was, and I wound up doing all the shows, and then I applied to Northwestern. By that time, spending 2 years doing theater, a whole bunch of the theaterites, we did shows like at University of Hawaii Kennedy with lab theater with a grad student production or whatever. And it was a small world of kids doing theater. And I had applied to Carnegie Tech, which was precursor to Carnegie Mellon, the top drama school. But I didn't have the bucks to fly out to audition in Pennsylvania. And then Boston University had a good program, but the person that they were going to audition for, this other gal and myself, was this University of Hawaii professor who was a real big dick, and we didn't care to do that. And then I got accepted to Northwestern, and I don't know why they did it. And it turns out, like, for the 4 years, I was one of the only people of color in the department.
Oh, wow.
And at that time, prior to that summer of '66, past couple of summers, I had to work at the Dole Pineapple Cannery for $1 an hour, doing the canning operations and all that stuff. And then my then choir teacher said this guy named Herb Rogers was bringing some professional summer stock theater to Honolulu in 1966 and started the Hawaii Civic Light Opera, where you bring in like Ann Blythe from the old MGM Starlet, Howard Keel, and you do Bye Bye Birdie with Roger Smith, South Pacific with Howard Keel,
Oh, wow.
and The King and I with Ann Blythe. And they needed a crown prince. So she said she knew the conductor who was from Hawaii, but via New York as well. And so I auditioned. And later on, she told me, he said, "Who's the kid?" And he said, "Clyde Kusatsu." He says, "Clyde? That name." Well, okay. But then I got cast, and that's when the bug really hit in.
Okay.
It was a 3,500 seat theater, concert hall.
Yeah.
Ooh.
And, and I wound up being invited to be an apprentice for the remainder of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I became friends with like Howard Keel. And at one point I had to go on for the opening of South Pacific because the guy who played the role hurt himself. So I went in there, and then I went, okay, I got my first professional. And so I thought I was really hot shit. And I went to Northwestern my freshman year, and I was like, oh my God, all these kids went to Algonquin, Maine, Totem Pole in Pennsylvania. They were theater files or whatever. They knew all the shows and everything, would see the Broadway shows. So all of a sudden you get intimidated as well. I did too, right? You think you did a lot because you're hanging out after shows, going to Duke Hanamoku's with the rest of the cast and hanging out with Don Ho and listening to that. It was all very high.
Sure. What fun. What fun is a young guy doing that and hanging out with all those people.
Yeah.
What a wonderful experience.
It was great, especially one of the jobs was as the apprentice was prior to the open, you go through all the dressing rooms and collect the valuables to keep it one place. And it was really exciting to go into the girls' dressing room or the women's dressing room.
Yeah.
In various states of
Sure. I
and the whole
understand.
thing,
I get
you know.
that.
Formative years, yes.
The formative years. That's the only thing formative. Yeah.
That's what gave you that ability to do the takes, you know?
Oh yeah. By keeping the subtle things like
Yeah.
But my freshman year, I got pulled aside by one of the professors, and I keep telling the story because it really made an imprint. And he said, "You want to be an actor? You want to be an actor? There's only the King and I and Teos of the August Moon. How could you possibly think about making a living?"
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And I was crushed.
What a terrible thing for a professor to say to a
Oh,
student.
I know.
Wow.
Really?
It's like that, how you have professors who said this person's going to do it and they don't never do it. And the other person that's been subsumed, it winds up, okay. And I went back to Hawaii and I wound up working the night shift in a brewery. It's one of those places where the workers are all really blue collar, big guys. And they're going, hey, during a break, what you reading? And I go, it's called The Hobbit. What's it about? Kind of hobbits and the elves and the orcs and oh. And I'm going, oh, no. Don't be high tone. Just be a regular guy. And I thought, you know what? If I want to do what I have to do, I'm going to have to be 10 times better or willing to work 10 times harder than a typical white kid or haole, as we say in Hawaii. And I went back and started with directing scenes, children's theater. So long story short, within the 3 years, I became a working theater major in the department with half the professors casting me in their productions, the other half not, but holding me up to be an example of a working student actor in the department. And in the meantime, I also did summer stock in Michigan City, Indiana, Grand Lake, Colorado, Aspen, Colorado. We did rep 4 shows at $25 a week.
Wow.
And then later on in Michigan City, I was a stage manager and performer because I could get an extra 25. So instead of $50 a week, I get 75.
Listening to this, your history, I suddenly realize why you have 326 credits. And that's why. I mean, that dedication and that passion and that focus is really why, because that was in you. It was in your DNA. You went out there and you just said, hey, I'm going to do this. And
Right.
all that passion came out and you did it. And you have to do that in show business. My gosh. Well, in any really hard business, but in show business, especially from where you came from and in your situation and dealing with any issues about, Asian or not Asian, whatever, you really had to break through a lot. And so your determination and your focus is admirable. And it not only did something for you, but I think it did something for all of us as audiences watching you. And that, I think, is the real gift you gave to everybody.
Well, the thing about it is, back in the day, it took me 2 years to get my first TV role. I worked at East West Players for the longest time because that was the first Asian American theater ever created. It's over 50 years now that they've been in existence. But back in the 70s, that's where casting directors, producers, writers, the theater scene, the little theater scene in Los Angeles was huge. There were many critics for little papers. The LA Times was the top. The LA Herald Examiner was the next thing. You had the trades, Variety, Hollywood Reporter. And people would go based on word of mouth and also what the reviews were like. And I remember a lot of times that's how casting people noted who was available. Also taking an acting class from a terrific acting teacher named Rick Edelstein, who was a writer and TV director. And he, for a while, was Streisand's kind of coach. And you learned how to prepare. And back in that day, you would get sides. If they were interested, they could be messenger to you, and you could get it, but you'd never get the script. So you go there, I learned, to go to the office or the audition place on the studio lot an hour before, make nice to the secretary and say, oh, is that a script there? Can I take a look at it? And you quickly go through it.
Doing your homework.
And find out where your character fit in.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, you had all these actors hanging around trying to psych each other out from getting the job.
Yeah, I know.
And by being very social and everything, and everybody networking and sort of like a Schwab's drugstore kind of a thing.
Did you say Slob's drugstore or Schwab? Oh, yeah.
Schwab's.
Not Slob's drugs. Okay.
No, Schwab's.
That's a different area.
That's a different
Yeah. And I'd study what it is. And no, you make your acting choices and the character choices. So I remember going in, Bob Butler. Bob was like a top director, TV director, film director. Bob directed the pilot of Hill Street Blues back in the 80s. I went in to read for this episode of Kung Fu, and he just kept looking, and he said, do it again. And I wound up booking it. There was no credit, no screen credit. I was Ying's son. We were Chinese miners, and there was a wealthy rancher, and one of the sons fell in love with the Chinese girl, and there was conflict and everything. And the second son was a wild kid, shot my father, killed him. So I went in, and I wound up shooting him and killing him. But at the time, I said, well, this is a great opportunity not to be in the coolie outfit. The Chinese miners didn't always wear the coolie outfits. It was a combination, maybe a vest that was Chinese, but there was like Western coat, pants, trousers, or whatever. And so my character had that. I mean, the only thing Chinese was the vest, but I had like the cowboy hat.
Yeah, great.
And I had one of those cool Winchesters with the big,
Oh, yeah.
sort of like
the rifleman.
Like, yeah, it was like
Yeah.
that kind of a
Yeah.
thing. I was like in heaven, sort of like,
Yeah.
I was so excited. That's when they were shooting a lot of the scenes where MASH had the exteriors at Fox Ranch,
Yeah.
out in Malibu.
Mm-hmm.
And I got there at 5:00 in the morning, way before anybody, and just hung out, and just was there to work. But subsequent to that was the role. It made an impression because the next season I was called in to read for a part, co-star part. And I walked in, and the producer there said, "Oh, this is the guy I'm talking about. No, don't read for this part. Read for this one." It turned out to be one of the guest leads. And I wound up booking my second TV show was a guest star on the thing.
That's great. Again, not only all the effort that you put into it as a young guy, but your God-given talent for understanding how to execute all that you learned is just an incredible story.
Oh, thanks.
And I think it's people who are listening to this who want to be an actor or thinking about being an actor, really pay attention to what Clyde is talking about because it's the deal. It's how you get jobs and it's how you maneuver through the acting world or any world, really, if you're passionate about it and want to know about it. So I got a couple of questions, but I got to take you back to MASH for a second.
Yeah.
So you auditioned and you got the part as the bartender.
Correct.
When you got on that set, you've been in umpteen hundreds different series by then or different shows by then.
No, not a lot. I mean,
Not a lot. Okay, I take that back. Just maybe a few. But when you walked on there and you had the experience of MASH, was there a difference between that show or that set or those people as opposed to another set? Did you notice anything dramatically different about them?
Well, I think basically, in a way, the set was a environment where the creatives involved in the show were very professional, top of the game. When you think about it, it's like Larry Gelbart, brilliant writer, going back to the late 40s or whatever, and he had a different kind of viewpoint. It was not schlock. They were really writing, and there was a respect coming off. I remember going back to this stage after lunch, and I hear, "Hi, Clyde." And I turned around, and it was Larry Gelbart. And I was like, "Hey, hi." And of course I went, "Who the is that?" That's the lesson, right? It's sort of like put it together, know who the players are, so you can go, "Hi, Larry, how are you?" It's like when I did All in the Family, it was a really tough show because it was became iconic in TV history. It was number one with almost, over 50 million people watching on a night. Even the Jack Guilford, the top vets, were intimidated by Carol. And I came in to do a guest as Reverend Chong. And it was a basic joke of Ching, Chang. He would mispronounce my name. He'd go Ching, I would go Chong, Chang, Chong. He'd go whatever. And then finally, it was towards the end, in the second act, I go, "Well, that's right, Mr. Binker." He went, "Bunker." And I went, "Whatever."
Right.
So back in the day for All in the Family, as a half hour, of course, I said how much all these old writers go back to your show of shows, but they only did 2 shows on a Friday, your afternoon show that you taped and your evening show. And you shot it like you were doing a 25-minute play, act. You just kept on going, and there was no salting the audience or having a pickup or doing pickups later. You did it like a show. And so everybody was like looking and says, how's the kid going to do? And this was told to me by a friend who was like the stage manager or assistant director. And at the end of the first show, we were at notes and a meal. And it was a long table, and then Norman Lear walks in and sits down, and he spots me, and all of a sudden he pops up, and everybody's watching. He's coming down, and he comes to me in front of me and says, "You're funny." And then,
Oh, wow.
and as he walked back, it's sort of like all the vets, the writers and everything, they just took note of it,
Yeah.
And it was like you were being blessed by the Pope.
You were anointed. Yeah. Wow. How fun, boy.
I wound up doing like 3 episodes as Reverend Chong.
Yeah.
And like the second one was a Civic when Rob and Sally left the show. It was a Civics Go West, and I performed a double ceremony, a wedding ceremony. But it was amazing. I tell people this is that before we start the show, it's sort of like waiting at the wings. And I guess there was a lot of heavy Hollywood people there to see that historic show. And Rob Reiner was like nervous as anything. He's going, oh, I'm going, really? He's like going nuts like I did back in high school.
Yeah.
Type of thing,
Wow.
And so years later, I was called in to do an audition for Oh God. And I put 2 and 2 together. Carl Reiner was in the audience, of course. And I'm talking to the casting director, and all of a sudden this figure walks by the open doorway. Then he stops and he comes back and goes, "You're funny." And that's how I wound up getting a role in Oh God.
Oh my gosh, how fun.
Wow.
Well, that's wonderful. So when you got to MASH, you did 4 episodes of MASH.
Yeah.
And the first 2 were kind of similar roles. You were the bartender, you were back there. And,
Correct.
And, the third one was this very dramatic. We've talked about it, the gentleman who tried to commit suicide there in the OR.
Right.
And then the fourth one was you replacing one of the doctors, you coming in as a doctor.
Right.
By the way, all of them were terrific. You were terrific in all of them. I just watched the
thanks.
shows yesterday.
I rewatched 2 of them today. Yes.
Yeah. And you were wonderful. I really, and I said to my wife, "Why, he's funny." But when I want to go back to, when you were on the set over that period of time, and from season 2 to season, I think was 10 was the last show?
11.
Season 11, yeah. So that's
Season
the last,
11, yeah.
the last season. Did you notice a difference in any of the dynamics between the actors, Alan Alda or anybody? Did you go, wow, I remember back then it was different, or was there a...
Yeah, actually, the way I describe it is sort of like the first 2 episodes that I did do, it was Wayne Rogers was still playing Trapper on it. And so Wayne Rogers was a very big finance guy and a financial advisor. So when you had the actor's corner with all the seats, I'd look in and there would be the New York Times would be on Alan's seat and the Wall Street Journal was on Wayne's seat. So when I came in to do the Goodbye Cruel World episode, by then, Mike Farrell was on it. And so what I saw instead was a chess set where they played their ongoing chess game.
Yeah.
But that says a lot of the personalities. And then when I did The Joker is Wild, by then McClane was not in the show at all. And McClane, I think, made one of those fatal mistakes of believing being the co-host of the Tonight Show and all that stuff, that it would be like a lock. Yeah, I think he's got the record of having the most failed series or pilots involved. It could never hook.
Yeah.
And so I remember getting guest cast on a show called Hello, Larry. And my character was very funny, and the dynamic, and McClane went, "Wow, we're going to have to get you next season on the thing." I said, "Okay, whatever." But so by then, for The Joker was Wild, Harry was the colonel. And it was just a total different vibe. And by then, Jamie was like really the scrounger in a way. And it was the first time where usually I went in and you shot maybe 1 or 2 days. But the whole schedule was there was a rehearsal day and then you had the shoot days. So I don't know if it was 3 days or 4 days, probably 3 days.
Yeah, shoot. Yeah, you shot 3 and rehearsed 1, and then went to bed in the 4th or 5th.
And so there was a little more of a kind of a laid back, loose atmosphere. I mean, I do remember all of a sudden, because at the time when I met Jamie, he was still like a peripheral character as Klinger. By the time we did Joker's Wild, he'd come in and was like, hey, did you see all the shoes that we got? It's available. You can have a Nike pair or whatever. He was like the scrounger who had all the deals that the cast was available.
Yeah.
Jamie's a terrific guy. The last I worked with him was a few years ago on a show called Cool Guys, and he came in to guest as well at Fox. And I also did a thing called Run Till You Fall that Mike Farrell directed as well as wrote, and then Jamie was starred in it. But it was one of those kind of things where Jamie's like a real grounded guy, the character guy that's been around the longest time. You can share that you've been through the ups and downs of this business, you know. So it was kind of, and there was like a little misunderstanding, and Harry was like offended, and so there was like a little spat, and I'm like, oh wow, that's kind of interesting. But it was like not big or anything like that, and it was like a family kind of spat. Yeah, it was kind of interesting. And what I liked about Major Yamato was that he was just a regular Asian American guy who's a doctor. Yeah, who's a friend of BJ's. So it was like, therefore, another opportunity to break down the stereotype. I wasn't Korean. Right. I wasn't of Korea.
Yeah.
It was just like, hey, there's a guy that has an Asian face, and it's like, hey, how you doing? You know, BJ.
Yeah.
And,
Paul, is that you? Beej! You old son of a gun, what are you doing here?
Oh, on temporary duty from the 8063rd.
No kidding, it's great to see you. Hawk, you meet Paul Yamato?
Yeah, we've been introduced, but you haven't.
Oh, we're old buddies. We roomed together in Army Med Training School.
You roomed together.
Yeah.
Oh, boy, did we have a ball, huh?
Yeah, I'll bet you did. You arranged this, didn't you?
What? Come on, will you get off it? Paul, I'm on duty now, but I'll tell you what, I'll buy you a drink later.
Fine.
Okay.
You still owe me one.
Ah.
Great guy.
Yeah.
I'll take you up on that offer and tour now.
You'd like that, wouldn't you?
Huh?
Forget it, buddy. It's not going to work.
what was nice about Goodbye Cruel World with Sydney was that I got to have scenes with almost everyone. Loretta, William Christopher, like, you know, and then Jamie, of course. So it was different coming in those two times when I was basically younger. Yeah, I mean, to me, the difference was also that was when you never thought about it. You could do a long-running series in multiple parts, different characters, and it wasn't one and done.
Yeah.
It had to be a recurring role. You could come in and because in the past, there was a time when actors could make a living just guest starring from one Streets of San Francisco to Canon or whatever, and do maybe 10 guest episodes a year and really make a very good living at it. And now it's sort of like, oh, no, we used them up. You know, it's very rare that you get a shot these days of doing a different character, a long-running series.
Yeah.
But that's where, like in Kung Fu, I wound up doing 5 episodes. And that was like an education. It was like grad school. Because like when I did my first guest star role, Richard Lang was one of the top TV directors. His father, Walter Lang, directed The King and I believe. His father was like a studio director at Fox Studios. And he grew up playing on the back lot at Fox. He said, look, we set up the shot. And come, take a look through the viewfinder of the camera. And we'll have the stand-in go through it. And he said, see, that's what I'm looking for, just this thing. So don't worry about anything. Just know that that's what I'm seeing. And every time I did work with him, eventually, he would always have me come in and take a look at what the setup was. And then at one point on Kung Fu, because it was like the Chinese or whatever, and he said, oh, you got to have an accent because you're sounding too American. A lot of times actors would go, what the f*** do you mean? You want me to do a series? You know, go up on this whole thing. And I went, hold on, let's not get hysterical here. Check your ego. And so I thought, well, you know, why don't I just do the stage dialect I learned to do at Northwestern? So the character went, Kwai Chang Kane, we, the members of the Tong, believe that you are stepping your bounds. And he said, that's it. That's what it was. And I went, of course, it sounds different.
Yeah. It
sounds different, but you don't have to give them what you think is the stereo thing. What you want to give them. And there are a lot of Asian actors who would just do the stereotype without questioning.
Yeah.
And of course, complain about doing it, And instead of going, what can I do to make it different? How can I use it to my advantage type of thing?
Yeah.
I've always been fascinated by, and MASH did this a lot, and you've alluded to it, that they would bring back the same actors to play different roles. So you had yourself returning 3 times with three different characters. You had Michael O'Keefe as 2 different characters. And a lot of times it was the ethnicities. So you had the Asian American actors like Richard Lee Sung and Mako, and these actors who kept returning to play the Korean characters,
Right.
even though most of them were never Korean. Was there just not as much of a pool of Asian American actors to pull from, or is it just that they were a step above and that's why they kept getting asked back?
The pool at that time, I think, was very limited. Let me put it this way. A story was like, I walked into the office at Warner's, and as soon as I walked in, the casting director popped up and went, "There you are." And he walked me quickly down the hallway, opens the door and says, "This is the guy I'm talking about. He can talk." Because back in the day, they would cast someone they felt looked like it was great, but he couldn't talk. He couldn't act. So they wind up shooting him and then looping his dialogue or whatever in post. But I thought, oh, you know what? Because I was trained also vocally, dialects, accents, because during the years at Northwestern and Summerstock, I never played an Asian character. It was either Carlino in Wait Until Dark, or one of the gangsters in Kiss Me Kate, or one of the dads in the Fantastics and everything. And I remember around that time, a person said, "Wow, you walked on that stage," and all of a sudden the person went, "What's going on?" And then I started talking and performing, went, "Oh yeah, it works." So it's like the English restoration. "Hello, Sparkus here. Hello, I'm the drummer boy." And you had to bring kind of a uniqueness, what you learn dialect-wise. Also, what you learn from even just, I love history, I love geography and stuff. That's part of the historical thing. Part of building the character when you walk in to do a show or audition, if it's a historical kind of thing, is what's that country like? You don't want to offend that ethnicity of that country, even if it was Asian. Now, what's changed is like, it's, quote, looking for authentic Vietnamese. They don't say that, but just say an authentic person in that country. What's good is that the pool is open. There are many, many different ethnicities that are now making a living. But it's a kind of an interesting dynamic. It's sort of like I was doing a film in Australia, and Bruce Beresford and I became very good friends. And he says, "Well, Clyde, my next project is going to deal with Vietnamese. But I don't think you can play Vietnamese." And I went, I'm not going to get on my lectern here, but I'm going to go, "Well, Bruce, does that mean if you're going to do a Haitian project, you're going to only look at Haitian black actors? I don't think so. Or if you're going to do a South American or whatever, Andy Garcia is specifically not Brazilian or whatever, but there seems to be a difference when it came down to Asian people. All of a sudden it's like, you got to do this. But if the actor is good enough or does the research enough, even with the little isms, with this kind of accent on it, or you have a good dialogue coach, you'll be able to do it. As long as you don't disrespect the kind of person you're playing from the culture that they're playing.
Right.
Yeah.
You have to understand what the culture is about, because it's different.
Well, along with being an extremely talented actor and very successful and so much fun to watch in all the roles that I've seen you in, you're also a vice president of the Screen Actors Guild.
Oh, former.
Former. Oh, I'm sorry. Ex vice president of Screen Actors Guild.
Well, I kind of withdrew from union volunteer leadership roles.
Okay.
I'm currently the secretary of the SAG-AFTRA Foundation.
Oh, okay.
I was part of SAG and I was part of AFTRA, and then we merged. So then when the merger happened, I became the first elected president of the LA local. And then I also was elected the first national vice president, Los Angeles. And that I held 4 different cycles.
Okay.
You learn a lot. I think what really impacted me was when I worked with other actors, they came up to me and said, "Thank you." I said, "Thank you for what?" "So, no, thank you for your service, to be there, to represent." And in many respects, it's sort of like, by the way, we're going to offer you a guest star role. Can we work you as a local from New York? I went, no. So why? He said, I'm a national officer. I can't be working against my contract because I'm just diminishing the purpose of having that contract.
Yeah.
It's like if I'm Los Angeles and I'm cast in New York, you got to fly me out according to the terms of the contract. You got to fly me out, give me the per diem. You got to also provide a decent hotel or whatever. And I kept doing that until finally I wound up doing a guest spot on Madam Secretary, in which the terms were accommodating. But then there was a guy who played my aide who flew himself out, put himself up, and worked as a local. But that's what he had to do. That's what he chose to do. That's part of the thing, too, is you have to learn about choosing and learning about choice. And I must add, in all openness, that August 4th of this year will be my 32nd year in sobriety.
Oh, wow.
And I am grateful for that position because it really has allowed me to have more longevity in my career as a performer. Because I'm not debilitating my body and my mind, my everything.
Right.
And because I've worked with so many other people who, believe me, you can tell stories about people working under the influence and everything. There was a time when that had a kind of a glamour to it.
Yes.
The Peter O'Toole's or the Richard.
Yeah, right. It was,
That type
it was a personality that people were attracted to.
Oh my God, yes. I mean, the classic stories, the Brit who goes back to London, goes to the pub, and goes, hey, where's everybody? And the bartender, they're all dead, mate.
Yeah. Yeah, right. Well, congratulations to you.
Thank you.
I applaud you. That's quite an achievement.
That's very wonderful. Well, you have been in many different shows.
Yeah.
So I'm going to ask you a question, and it doesn't matter, but of all the television shows you worked on, which is your favorite? And this is MASH Matters, of course. This is the podcast about MASH. But which is your favorite show that you worked on over all those years?
Well, I have to say, if we're talking about favorites, I can't say one show. I can say a group of shows that have reached classical status, and I'm very proud to have been part of it. It's like, I remember I got interviewed for a book by Mike Colucci, who wrote on a book about the Golden Girls, and his previous book was about the 50 best episodes of All in the Family. And I'm part of that. And so I was interviewed, and it was like, wow. And then MASH, of course, he's being associated with the classic shows that are part of the history of broadcast TV. And I consider myself very grateful and fortunate because a lot of the people from the shows, you wind up working later on other shows. And then you become part of this whole, what is this? It's like a community, but then it's kind of weird in a way. It's like the story about you. Everyone thinks you're part of the club. It's like there's a famous story that George C. Scott was telling a friend of mine. They were working together. And he went, when you're winning an Oscar, I finally felt I joined the club. And when I went to Los Angeles, I found out there's no club. Nobody hangs out, It's like that was like an anachronistic thing back in the studio days.
Yeah.
When you had MGM contract players, Warner Brothers or whatever, everybody was there at the cafeteria or wherever. Commissary.
Yeah.
And so you want, everything. And there was there was a club in a way. I mean, the classic thing is when you watch part of that's entertainment and you see all the people that are working on films on the lot at that time, it's like a plethora of the greats. It's like one after another. Yeah. And a lot of them eventually became like TV stars, like Red Skelton and everybody else. And you're going, wow. So I came in with that knowledge of the history of Hollywood in many respects. So it's like, I'm always excited to work. Like when I first worked on Warner Brothers, I went, oh, I'm walking through the gate of Warner Brothers. That was in Hollywood Canteen back in 1943.
How fun. Yeah.
Just looking at your IMDb, I don't think that there are many actors who can say that they've worked on The Penguins of Madagascar and The West Wing and American Pie and The Last Airbender and Small Wonder and Magnum PI and Star Trek: The Next Generation. You sang in Ally McBeal, you were All in the Family, Clifford the Big Red Dog, and General Hospital. I mean, that's a heck of a lineup right there. And that's just a few of them. I mean, like we said, we had over 300.
We wouldn't have time to do the 300. Yeah.
Do you enjoy like the voice work more? Do you like taking on the roles? Do you get back on stage? Where do you like to be right now?
Well, I'm going to be 78 this September. Well, I'm in this business now 53 years, and to continually have opportunities to work is really gratifying. And a lot of times I'm also doing some dubbing work and everything. And it's like fun and satisfaction is to be able to utilize your skill set that you learned, and also to basically still be doing what I dreamt of doing when I was a kid.
Yeah.
You know, what I aspired to be,
Yeah.
I get to do it still. And I stay out of the resentment because I'm aging. That's it. I mean, but at the same time, the interesting thing about it is, connected with my sobriety, is that I haven't aged as much in many respects.
Mm-hmm.
So people like drop their mouths when I say, yeah, I'm 77. They go, what? This past show, I still am. You can see me on Netflix as The Man in the Inside with Ted Danson.
Love it.
And the kid, when we were at the first table read during a break, the casting director says, wow, makeup's going to really have to work to age you up, I went, I don't think so. He says, why? I'm 76. He went, what? And she was shocked,
That's great.
And
That's great.
the funny thing about that show was that I got to work with Sally again. And every time I worked with Sally, it's sort of like we wound 30 years after All in the Family, we wound up doing Still Standing, a show on CBS, a half-hour show where I was her boyfriend, then I became her fiance, then I became her husband. But it was like, can you believe that? We're, from All in the Family to this. And then, of course, when we did Man on the Inside, it was that opportunity. And it's like, it's fun, but it's also like we would be chatting with John. We would all be in like that little place between shots. And there was another woman who was like on Brooklyn Nine-Nine, Stephanie Rabbit. And she said, wow, there's so many stories I'm learning from you guys.
Yeah.
That whole kind of a thing.
Yeah.
I just think it's it kind of dates me with this term. I think it's neat. I think it's like bitching. I think it's cool.
It's bitching. It's bitching and neat and cool.
Because, I can't call my ages, how come I wasn't up for that part? Because you're going to say, well, because you're too old for that. And the fun that sometimes is sort of like, you're too young for it.
Yeah.
Wow.
Wow. My goodness.
Well,
wow.
But like, say, dubbing wise, used to be when you do a dubbing thing, like do a loop, if you had a long dialogue, you have to capture that whole thing and lip sync to it. Now, instead of just putting that undue pressure, you can now do it line by line, and then they blend it together. And when they blend it together, it's like, oh, wow, it's as if I had a continuous thing because
you can't tell. Yeah.
You can't tell. So he taught me not only to be accepting, but welcoming to the change and jump on. It's sort of like when I tell people, well, if you like to surf the waves, if the wave's there, get the board. If you're given an opportunity to surf, you surf. So it's like, and also, if you're at a buffet, you pick what's available. You can't say, well, I'd like this, please.
Have the chef make this for me.
It's almost like I say to people, when you look at these young people coming up, there's the blonde, there's the brunette, there's the redhead, there's the surfer dude, there's the cool dude, there's the football hero. And it's the same type, only it's a different name. And the people that were there have a hard time transitioning to as they get older. But there are those that could transition and accept doing more character roles rather than the lead. And those that can adjust to that are the ones that are going to continue doing that.
And you have done just that.
Yes, you have.
Well, Clyde, this has been a delight. And I think Jeff alluded to it earlier. It's almost like a masterclass for people who want to get into the business, too.
Oh, thank you.
You've given so much great advice from your life story.
Well, I hope I didn't sparsely talk about MASH, which is your show is MASH centric and everything.
Yeah, no. We covered we covered a lot of MASH.
And we only have 2 hours left, so we can get into that if you want. You don't have anything to do you?
Yeah,
Clyde, you don't have a life or anything, right?
You're not a busy guy.
Well, it was stage 9 at Fox Studios, which then eventually became the home of Hill Street Blues. And
Thank you for your time. Thank you for spending so much time with us today. It's an absolute honor to talk to you.
Oh, you're welcome. And I'm very honored that the both of you chose me to be part of your show.
Like you said, you're a part of history when it comes to television because of your appearances on certain shows, and one of those shows being MASH.
Yeah, and MASH was truly a big family, and everybody who showed up and came in and did what they did is part of that family. So
Yeah.
You are part of that family.
I
Doggone
appreciate it.
it. Whether you like it or not.
Brian, Jeff, thank you very much.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
Thank you.
Thank
Well,
you, Clyde.
that does it for this episode of MASH Matters. We'll be back soon. Until then, here's looking up your old address.
Happy trails.
It was so close I could hear him breathing. So I threw a grenade and took off. Half hour later, I ran into platoon of GIs digging in for the night. I told the 2nd Louis he had 2 divisions coming at him, and if he stayed there, he's going to be overrun.
He must have been very grateful.
He looks me over, points his weapon at me, and says, "Who won the World Series in '50?
He thought you were a spy.
Oh, you're not kidding. I had to go through the whole story, how the Yankees clobbered the Whiz Kids in 4 straight.
How awful.
I know, I'm a Phillies fan.